Hello, everyone. Let's wrap up topic 1. We need to get after questions 1C and 1D. Talk more about how organisms get their nutrition. So 1C, it says consumers are heterotrophs that feed on living organisms by ingestion to take material inside of their body. Detritivores are heterotrophs that obtain organic nutrients from detritus by internal digestion. Where saprotrophs are heterotrophs that obtain organic nutrients from dead organisms by external digestion. So whether you digest your macromolecules internally or externally determines whether you're a detritivore or a saprotroph. I mean, there's just tons of vocabulary here. So then it says, provide 2 specific examples for each of the following: autotrophs, consumers, detritivores, and saprotrophs. Great. Blah, 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 blah vocabulary. So let's break this down. Nothing to be intimidated by here at all. So 1C. First of all, heterotroph. If you recall from the earlier question, a heterotroph ingests its food. It's a fancy word for eating. Okay, and then they throw out the term detritivore. Detritivore. Now, this is a great example where I could have you memorize this, and I could then give you a Scantron test, and I could teach you that detritivores eat detritus. I could then give you a Scantron test that says detritivores eat blank, and A could be dirt, and B would be detritus, and C would be, I don't know, water, right? And you could answer that Scantron question with detritus, and you would say 100%, excellent, and you still would have no idea what a detritivore is, because you don't know what detritus is. So let's define detritus. Detritus is organic material, which means material that is produced by an organism. That's the definition of organic. So detritus is organic material released by biotic factors, living things. So in the last question, when we talked about energy flow, we talked about abiotic factors, chomps. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. Those are abiotic, non-living factors. But here, when you talk about biotic factors, these are living things. So detritus is any organic material that's released by a living thing. You say, well, like what? Well, I assume that all of you know what trees are, so let's draw ourselves a tree. And regardless whether the tree is deciduous or not, the tree loses its leaves. Deciduous trees lose their leaves all at the same time, and evergreen trees lose them slowly throughout the year. Okay, so you then get this collection of leaves sitting on the ground. These leaves are organic material that were released by a biotic factor, the tree. Thus, by definition, these leaves are detritus. Okay, so anything that then comes up, draw yourself some organism here, anything that comes up and then eats these leaves, not the tree, anything that comes up and eats the leaves, eats the detritus, is therefore by definition a detritivore. So detritivores eat detritus. So here's your terrestrial example. Okay, cool. So then you have, let's say, a fish, okay? Little baby fish, cool. And you have a shark. So shark. Yeah, Manro can't draw many things, but Manro can draw a shark. Okay, here's shark. So the shark comes in, and sharks have notoriously poor eyesight. And so they hit this animal once, and there is the particulate that's released into the water column. This would be meat or muscle. This would be scales. And this particulate then that used to be part of this unfortunate fish would then float to the bottom. Or the fish poops. And this organic material then ends up on the bottom of the seafloor, or if it's freshwater, this would be a lake or a stream, fine. So this, by definition, once again, is detritus. And then any organism that comes along and eats that is, again, a detritivore. Now, this is actually pretty funny because individuals or organisms like lobster and crab, right? These are very, very high ticket items when you go into a restaurant, extremely expensive. Biologically, lobsters and crabs are detritivores. Lobsters and crabs don't hunt anything, right? They search through the sediment in the bottom of the water column and they eat detritus. They eat the particulate that falls down from the water column that is shed from the animals, or is the particulate when one animal feeds on another, or they eat fish poop. And then we pay top dollar to eat these organisms in the restaurant. So they then talked about internal and external digestion, and that's an important difference between a detritivore and a saprotroph. So a detritivore, these are heterotrophs. Heterotrophs. So heterotrophs are your larger group. All heterotrophs are detritivores. But not all detritivores, let me rephrase that. Detritivores are heterotrophs, that's what I want to say that, but not all heterotrophs are detritivores. For instance, okay, lobster and crabs are detritivores, therefore they are heterotrophs. But you and I are a heterotroph, but we are definitely not detritivores. And if you guys do eat detritus, I don't want to know about it, okay? And how they then consume their macromolecules. They consume and then digest macromolecules and utilize a digestive system. So this is by internal digestion. And so it asks for an example. Fine, we just talked about a lobster, crab. If you want to go on land, think of a worm or a beetle, right? These are detritivores that consume detritus and then digest it in an internal digestive system. Whereas saprotrophs, these are your molds and your mildews. These are also heterotrophs, but they utilize external digestion. And you go, hold it. How can you have external digestion? Simple. You ever seen bread mold? You ever seen the white or the black or the green mold that grows on bread? That's actually not the mold itself. It's the reproductive structure. So here's a piece of bread or any other macromolecule for that point. And how fungus really works is it's a tube, and it's a tube that grows within the food product. So this is actually your fungus. And this is a structure in the fungus called a hyphae. It's just a tube. And what the hyphae does is it releases digestive enzymes. And as the digestive enzymes diffuse out into whatever this could be a block of cheese, this could be a slice of bread, the macromolecules are digested. Thus, digestion occurs externally, and then the nutrients are absorbed by the fungus. So you can have a chunk of cheese or a piece of bread that has fungus in it, and you never know. You say, well, then what's the black stuff? What's the green? What's the white that I see? Well, when two hyphae cross each other, when there's physical contact between two hyphae, that stimulates mitosis. and they form a filament, which then produces spores. It's a reproductive structure. And these are then fungal spores. This is the structure that you see growing on the surface of your food. What you actually see growing on your food isn't the fungus itself. It's the filament and the fungal spores that are erupting through the surface of the food because the hyphae are growing inside of the food. So the next time that you see someone take a piece of bread and they just, I'm just gonna pick off the fungus on the surface, and they eat it anyway, what they're really picking off are the fungal spores off of the surface, and then they're eating the hyphae inside of the bread or the cheese. And as long as you don't have a compromised immune system, it's really a non-issue. All right, so that's 1C. I told you this core went quickly. So then 1D. 1D says a community is formed by populations of different species living together and interacting with each other. A community forms by an ecosystem and its interactions with the abiotic environment. Once again, words. Let's see how these words relate to each other. So what you want to create, 4, 5, 6, you want to create a 6-layered diagram. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's so funny. How many times have I drawn this and I still have to count it? Okay, so these are layers, and this is question 1D. Okay, so you have the individual here. Now, if you have a group of individuals that are all members of the same species, remember how we defined what a species was in question 1A. So you have a group of individuals that are all the same species. That is a population. So populations are made of individuals of the same species. Well, then if you have a population of this organism, and you have a population of this organism, and you have a population of this organism, right? So you have 3 different populations, 3 different species, and the fact that it's 3 really doesn't matter, just 2 or more. That is by definition a community. So a community is made of populations of different species. If you want to apply this to IB, you are an IBer. You are a population of IB juniors, soon to be IB seniors. And your coordinator always preaches to you about the IB community, because I see you all as one big group, even though you're made of the soon to be IB juniors and the soon to be IB seniors, and then the alumni. So a community is made of different populations. Fine. So then you have your populations here. So here's population. Here's your other population. I guess these guys don't get legs. And then you have the abiotic factors. So now when you have the community interacting with the abiotic factors, that's by definition an ecosystem. So an ecosystem is composed of the community interacting with the abiotic factors. This could be the soil, the sunlight, the water. Well, then if you take all of the ecosystems on a continent, by definition, that is a biome. So there's the North American biome, there's the South American biome, there's the African biome, there's the European biome, the Asian biome, okay? These are by continents. So take all of the ecosystems on a continent, and that's the biome. Take all of the continents and all of the biomes on the Earth, and newsflash, we live on a ball. Okay, so all of the biomes on the Earth are then called the, let's turn this, the biosphere. Sorry, flat earthers, it's not the bio brick, it's not the bio donut, it's not the bio box, it's the biosphere. So, individuals compose populations, populations are in communities, communities plus the abiotic factors are the ecosystem, all of the ecosystems on the continent is the biome, and all of the biomes on the earth is the biosphere. So you should be able to draw this and discuss it, either going from part to whole or explaining it going whole to part. You need to be able to go both ways. So that takes care of question 1D, and that is all of topic 1.